Well, what a magnificent day. Could you agree, Thomas? That trip, the boat trip out to Holy Island, and it seemed to be a magical place once we got off the boat.
It was fantastic. It was one of the best days I've had in years. Even with the sunburn, it was everything. The boat trip out was wonderful. The island was wonderful. The stories we were hearing and everything. And it was like a lifelong ambition to go there. And especially like one particular ancient site there, I have to go see. But yeah, I mean, it totally lived up to my expectations. Like the world provided, Era provided, a beautiful day for it.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to have gotten out there before UNESCO puts a fence around it. That upsets me when I think about it.
The carnage is the big thing that we're all afraid of now. It's moving to see someone like Madden there for 36 years with a whole donation of his life to the island, to the monastery, writing books, preserving all the history, our heritage, our culture, our Christian values and everything else, be them what they are. It's all stored there, and you can see his passion for the island. You can see his love for the island. You can see his love for people. He gave us a tour beyond anything. And for them to think about putting in a new pier there, we saw 87 yachts arrive today.
It was like the French
Can you imagine if they arrived there to all in bombard Holy Island? Can you imagine the carnage?
Or the lines of tour buses at the docks.
Yeah.
You know, they might even make a ferry big enough for a tour bus. You know, they could completely go nuts, you know.
Yeah.
They're just robbing us of our heritage. Like when I was in Holy Island, I felt like I was in someone's home.
Yeah.
You know, like this is the home of ancient souls and ancient spirits going back forever.
Yeah.
The money men will move in and they'll build a new harbour and they'll build cafes and interpretive centres and God knows what else for people to walk around. Instead of, like when we were walking back today, you could hear all the bees on the honeysuckle around the fields.
So it was a home.
Yeah, they'll be putting the headphones on with some RTE presenter doing this. Well, this is what this is and this is what that is, you know. It's transhumanism. It's to stop us being human, you know. So you enter into the UNESCO heritage site and what you become is a kind of like... they turn everything into it becomes part of the multimedia experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's very sad.
It's sad for our people. It's sad for our heritage. It's definitely sad for our culture of who we are. That we're now being overruled by a European body of communists and globalists that just see another concrete car park, another system just like the Cliffs of Moher where you pay for everything. You can't park your car and it'll be towed away. You cross over the road and you have to pay to go through again. And it's these globalist tourist traps, the same as Newgrange. Sure, they're all everywhere now. They take over.
They condition people to think that they can't visit these places without them. So they want to go. You go take them to a place where there's an ancient old church or round towers or ancient megaliths or something. That condition people to say, okay, that's nice. Where's the coffee shop and the interpretive centre where we see the slideshow? You know, that kind of thing. You know, and that's what happens. And suddenly, where you could just walk around and have a bit of a fun, and and living in the moment, everything is. You see, experience is a commodity.
Yeah.
And they can sell it to you, but they can sell you it's a fake experience.
It'll all be fake because we know that everything, once they get these tourist centres, they drain the energy off the people. Whatever happened when we got off that boat and went past that ash tree, it looked like we went back in a different time zone.
Different space-time.
Yeah, there was something different. Time kind of stood still while we were out there.
Absolutely.
They're going to put me in the movies. They're going to make a big star out of me. They'll make a song about a man that's sad and lonely. And all I gotta do is act naturally. No, Etna.
It's turning into Spinal Tap. We're like the ancient site versions of Spinal Tap on our tour.
If you go down here to the confessional, this man is interested in the confessional, which is the most peculiar building on the island.
I know, that's the real mystery they all talk about.
Yes, it is. To me, it was a dolmen.
So, I've always wanted to see this building for many years. And I was always sceptical of the people who said it's possibly the remains of a stone circle or cairn inside what they call the confessional. Very mysterious building, even the church doesn't know what it's for. Now that I'm looking at it, that's a megalith. That goes back before the Christians came. I wrote a book called The Druid Code about this period in history, and there are buildings like this around Europe. But this is one of the most convincing ones I've ever seen. These are definitely the kind of orthostats you would see on the entrance to a burial mound, a burial chamber, as are the inside ones. Like, who knows, maybe an ancient pagan king, they weren't ready to give him up. And so, out of respect, and this did happen a lot, the early Christian monks said, no, let's give it some due respect. They probably kind of like posthumously baptized him or something like that, the area, and then they built this building on an east-west alignment, like a Christian building should be. So I actually find this quite moving because it shows that there was a tolerance for the old religion here, that these people were not cold-hearted. They were practical. I mean, they knew that you just couldn't walk in and change everything. But it shows that they had a respect for the locals who, before Christianity took over. This is one of the things that makes me proud to be Irish, actually. In many countries, these buildings were attacked and destroyed. Up until very recently, you had things in Scotland, stone killers, the Calvinist stone killers, who went around huge areas of Aberdeenshire smashing all the old stone circles to bits with stones. It happened in England as well with the Puritan stone killers. They put dynamite and everything on them. But in Ireland that never happened. There was a great reverence for the ancestors in the past. The early church totally understood it and respected it because maybe they had to. Maybe certain Abrahamic religions are going to come into Ireland in the future and take over. Will they respect what we have built? This is something I worry about. Will they be stone killers? Will they consider this unclean? But now this was probably built as a kind of a tribute, as a kind of an act of respect. They respected the old religion enough to not destroy it. Yeah, I'm finding this quite moving actually. There's a kindness, there's an element of kindness. I like it.
Good, lovely story.
I'm very happy here today. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking us out. Has there been an increase in tourism to the island since when you started?
We brought out about 50, I'd say, the first year. Now probably 5,000 a year, probably every year it's gone. Ed O'Brien, since she was buried there, every Friday at least somebody, even today, we had people out just to see her grave. But now that the centre is opened in Mount Shannon and the publicity it's getting in the whole lot, like it's going to be huge in time to come.
Him and Sean's ancestors built this. You know, that's what they don't want us to really feel, that our people built these things. We're related to them. Just going way back, we don't know their names or anything.
The fairies are not getting the same treatment now as they were getting when I was growing up. I was afraid of my life if I wouldn't go outside the door.
There's not many good fairies. My grandmother was terrified. She was a real bog woman. She came from the Midlands, right?
Okay.
And she used to terrify us as kids with stories. And we'd be watching Disney and you see Tinkerbell and you just think the fairies were all lovely. And she said, oh no, the she are not like that. If you ever see a fairy run? And it's like, what?
Every night of the week some old fella come in from the pub or something, and he'd come in and we'd be in bed upstairs and we'd come down halfway down the stairs looking through the banister. And this old lad, Jesus, fairy stories. It was unbelievable. Like. Yeah. And he did it so real, like, so natural. We wouldn't sleep all night.
There's an old story, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. And you'd like this, Sean. You know the way that it's a stereotype, but it's true. If you do a favour for a traveller, he'll be your friend forever.
Right.
You know, if you're a settled person, he'll be your friend forever. I think it's the same with the fairies. That if you develop a relationship with them, he's all right, she's all right. But they're hostile to ones they haven't developed relationships with. So they're looking for the right kind of human. That's what I think.
No, I wouldn't.
That's what my grandmother said, and I believe her.
See, there's all kinds of mounds like that and all. They've never been excavated, you know.
Did you know what these are?
No. So they didn't get around to excavating it.
But this has always been here?
It has always been here. Oh, lots of burials now decided around Tower. Burials, actually. When the excavation around Tower, they found lots of burials and all that around there. But there's loads of mounds like that around the island.
They're probably burial mounds from pagan times.
God, you never know.
The Vikings had a go at this place, didn't they, a few times?
Yeah. It was astronomical that these ships were looking for the greatest school of learning in the world. And that happened to be here. And this goes back to what my beliefs of this island of Ireland, Eru. This is the Holy Land. It's the sacred land.
Oh yeah, this is the Holy
It's
Land.
Atlantis.
The knowledge of Atlantis was here.
Yeah, it was.
That's what they were really after for the Vatican Library.
Yeah.
It's really deep.
Yeah. That's only 2 of them. We've 65 more.
They're from pagan times, but they're still used to this day. They're used for magic. So the water, whether there's mineral content in the stone, that's one story, or the quartz. But when they fill up with rainwater, people take them as cures for things like arthritis and rheumatism, things like that are supposed to be good for. But in Sligo and Donegal, some of them are used for cursing people. So they're magic. They're just magic, you know, that's the way you describe it. Like any magic, it's either black magic or white magic, depending how you use it.
There's nothing more holy than this land of Ireland. No wonder they've been after so much. I look out here and see nothing, only our majestic trees. All this dieback will be gone soon. Everything's going to be reversed. You're only allowed to attack God so far till he just says that's it. And they've been attacking him for a long time now. And it's done now. A new earth is coming. Peace and love and a new currency. This has been a powerful day. These are the things we need to be showing our people of our heritage. These majestic sights. What would you want to be doing abroad in a sandy beach abroad in Morocco today, or Portugal, or Fuerteventura? Jeez. 2 holidays ever in my life. One was in 95 and one 20 years ago. And when I came back from the last one, I says, I'll be on holidays for the rest of my life. Never again. Never again.
I also feel sorry for the tourists, because if they come along in a kind of a package deal, they're also missing out on a special thing that they're not going to find. So no one wins, everyone loses, except the Epstein class who run all this stuff, ultimately at the top, the secret unknowns, whatever they kind of call them, the ones beyond the banks and the EU. I always feel that these people have a hatred of the human race.
Yeah.
Like they hate us all, like that we're not members of them. Because I remember when I worked for Goldman Sachs, they used to have 2 elevators. And one of the elevators went to the very top where the real big shots went. I wasn't a money man, I was just a nobody and working in communications. And one day the main elevator for the employees was broken, and we had to use the elevator that the Epstein class used. And there was 2 guys in there, and they were looking at me like I was an animal. And I think that was the same night that I think the Yankees, I think it was the Mets or the Yankees had won the World Series, or were about to win it. And I said to them, did you watch the baseball last night? They didn't know how to even talk to me, like I was like a different species from another planet. And so that they don't like us, they can't stand us.
No, they definitely hate us.
Yeah.
It's not even, they hate us. They hate our villages, they hate our communities. And you know, I won't nitpick on anyone, but there is a very well-known politician from that same village. And in his legacy of 30 or 40 years in government now, the hotel has closed. There was 13 B&Bs brought to my attention there only last year that was once in the village or around the surrounds of the village. There was 3 pubs. I bought my first bicycle in that village. And they're down to the last pub, which is now for sale. So everything is gone. The hotel is gone. How many jobs are gone? So we're on about creating work, we're on about sustainability, and now they're on about ploughing millions onto a historic site. God only knows how old it is, because you believe there's some buildings there way maybe older than the Christian period of.
Oh, there definitely is.
And
yeah.
the round towers can
Jared,
definitely raise another vibration of how old they go and everything else. And they're on about spending millions when the infrastructure of a village is pretty much on its knees. There's bus stops now in that village, you wouldn't see them above in the middle of Dublin city. Painted out onto the middle of the road.
They're
curbs this high
to
stop anyone pulling up on a path, pulling in for their lunch or pulling in, having a pint and going away about their business. It's all gone. It's all gone. Village is dead.
And they're moving everybody into like Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Waterford, all the cities. They're hollowing out the provincial areas. And they just want it for tourism and maybe a bit of agriculture, maybe a little agriculture, and forests. And I mean, I've no problem with rewilding poor land. I think it's actually quite a good thing. If the land is poor now, not good farmland, of course. Literally, they want everybody in the cities. I was reading about that new ring road that they built around Galway City, it's literally a moat.
Wow.
It's going to have all the telecommunications towers along it, so everybody be monitored. If you left the exclusion zone, it's like a sci-fi movie.
They know everywhere you go.
You know, if you went beyond the M50 in Dublin or the new road in Galway, you might get a fine. Or your car might stop at like a drone and go back to home.
Wow. It's frightening to think maybe the plans that they had for us as kind humans. I'm moving the words a little bit in my journey from humankind to kind humans, because we're all kind humans. We all had a beautiful day today. Everyone we met, we wished them well. There was lovely vibration of everyone. The tour guide, a big shout out to Germadden and what he runs there, because he has persevered, weather decades of horrendous summers that we know are all orchestrated by the globalists with geoengineering for weather and climate change, so they can bring about everything on us. And he sat there on those piers and pillars for weeks and in often for just, a couple of fairs a week to preserve history for us. And you could see he was shining today. He really got a great vibe.
It was fun for him.
Yeah, I think he hit it off. He had a great old chat about.
Yeah, no, he was a lovely man, but he was also a very interesting person.
Yeah,
he has some stories over the years. He could tell you about lots of things.
Yeah,
but we're losing those guys. A lot of the younger generation come up. I don't meet many ones who might evolve into a man like yourself or Gerard. That's another thing that worries me. Everyone's being absorbed into the Borg of the internet. Social media, TikTok, it's like a sponge sucking them in, and that's what worries. Now, we know it will turn around eventually, because these guys are against natural law. What they're doing is against natural law, and you cannot defeat natural law. If natural law can destroy a galaxy, these guys are not going to be able to get away with what they want. It's like they're pushing the pendulum up way out. But natural law still wants the pendulum to swing back to the other direction. They're not going to be able to push forever. I think they're sort of like, they're looking that way now more and more. Have you noticed that? Like they're building their bunkers and they're building their spaceships and their way. I think they're worried now that something could actually go like that. I think they didn't get the response from COVID they expected.
I'd say it backfired.
Yeah, they didn't get that great reset.
I'd say it's backfired.
Yeah. You look online now and you see any story about COVID or any kind of pandemic, 90% of the comments are, go shove it, what a joke. Yeah. You're not going to fall for this again. So I think that you will not defeat natural law. You just won't.
Wow.
And they think they can, but they won't.
Well, God's law, for me, that'll be God's law.
The same thing, yeah.
The law of nature, the law of Mother Earth, and the laws of physics, which is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction.
That's natural law, yeah.
And it's happening in real time, that every action they're putting against our kind humans of the planet that stand in love and peace. And we know we stand in love and peace, because the boundary has been set for love and peace on this planet forever by the men and women and children that demonstrated in the fuel demonstrations, that not as much as a feather was lifted in resilience to a totalitarian government that brought in communists and globalists from UN and many other places. They weren't all out of the north. Don't be fooled by the system. The balaclavaed ones were brought in UN masonries to impeding our people, and not a feather was taken up.
This is why I'm always telling people, be very, very careful about anyone trying to save you or anyone offering you a movement, unless you have your own self sorted out. No one else is going to sort out anybody for you for yourself, We're in an age where there's like false prophets, and that's, if you look at the Babe's prophecy, at the end of the second battle of Meitheals, the Babe, which is the hooded crow goddess, she's connected to the Morrigan and the Maca. She sat on a rock and she issued a prophecy for the future of Ireland. And even thinking about it now, I'm getting goosebumps. She said, "I will see a time when there's no seasons, where there's sea without produce, land without crops. No man will take a woman and mothers and sons will become like as one. An evil time, a time of usurpers, and a time of false prophets and false promises. And that's where we're living now. And that was 3,500 years ago at the Second Battle of Meitheals. The Babe Goddess issued that. And it's written in the Irish mythological cycle by the monks who wrote the stuff down. And here we are.
Is that like in the annuals of the Four Masters? Or
Yeah, it's not in the Four Masters. It's in, I think it's in one of the. It's not the Fenian cycle, but it's in one of them.
Wow.
Yeah. If you look online, you can find the whole thing translated from the Old Irish, and it's like Nostradamus stuff. And we're now living in the time that she said. But that would also, it was the end of. You see, the Tuatha De Danann had defeated the Fomorians, and then the Fomorians were defeated by the Milesian Gaels. And the Tuatha De Danann went underground. So the whole thing was that when Ireland was be at its worst point, the old tribe, the old Tuatha, would rise from the earth. Now, don't actually think in terms of an actual beings. Think of a spirit that grows inside us, like almost like a genetic memory or a spiritual memory. And a time comes when that ignites, and I think we're coming to that now. I really do believe that, because that's why we're all here. This is why these things exist.
Yeah.
This can't be an accident. This wouldn't have happened in the 70s. It wouldn't have happened in the 80s.
No.
But it's happening now for a reason, and it's because a new force is rising, and it's an old force, and
rising within us.
Yeah, it's inside all of us. No matter where we live in the world, there's an ancient primal spirit of humanity, and we've all got it. In Ireland, it died. I've no doubt about that, And even like some of the writings, Patrick Pearse, he spoke about reinvigorating the sacredness of the Irish people. It was there, but like it wasn't graspable, because it's like it has to wait to unfold at the right time.
The time is now.
And I feel if it's not now, we're definitely on the cusp.
Yeah, we'll be worse than the Tuatha De Danann. I don't know where we'll be left on the planet if it's not now. But I feel collectively, consciously, spiritually, and biblically, we're rising at a rapid rate now in the last few months. More so in the last few years, but in the last few months it's escalating.
Well, look at all the strangeness that's happening. Yeah. You know yourself, like growing up here, like I live in Sligo, and you do get the Northern Lights there, but maybe once every 5 years, and you'd have to like go to the beach and get your camera out and zoom in, and you might see it coming in from Iceland, a little bit of yellow or green. Now we're getting incredible aurora displays all over Ireland, right down as far as Cork and into Spain.
Yeah.
Like that something is going on.
Yeah.
What's energizing the earth at that point?
Yeah.
There's something going on. And you hear about things like the Schumann resonance changing and stuff like that. The sort of the energetic signature of the earth changing. And you look and first you think to yourself, come on now, maybe it's not true. There's lots of ways to read a story.
Yeah.
But then I cannot deny that the Northern Lights are now way more visible than they ever have been. And there's all kinds of other things that were in the sky now, like red sprites and all kinds of strange things happening around the country and around the Western world. So this is those Epstein class guys may laugh at us, but they watch that stuff too, because they're probably more superstitious than we are. Like, what was it that J.P. Morgan said? Millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires use astrology. They're into this stuff more than we are. They just tell us it's all nonsense, but meanwhile they're all doing it.
I saw that in Dromoland, believe it or not, because we carried some of the richest people on the planet, very wealthy people, and we carried their children too, that would be educated in very private systems. And I often had 6 and 7 year old children that could teach me more about the stars and the galaxies.
Yeah.
They could teach me more about Greek mythology, Hermes, where Mercury in Greek and Roman mythology. They could go into languages at 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10.
It's incredible.
Greater than their parents would be lost, because they were being educated by private tutors into a whole different
in the best
realm.
colleges and
they
schools.
Were everything. And I mean, I used to get educated. There was a couple of different people who would educate me on my journeys over there. Some of the best educators I got were people that were self-travelled. They'd leave no stone unturned to find out stuff. It's like going out to that. Sure, if we had a boat ourselves, would we be in out of Holy Island yet? Probably not.
Yeah.
We'd probably be out there for a couple of more hours looking and...
Tell us more about the kind of people you're talking about, like the actual, what they were like, the adults.
The adults of that, they'd be very pushy sometimes, you know, because they would, when you get to draw their children about Mercury or the god of the underworld, they sometimes wouldn't like the children sharing as much knowledge with you because they might feel that I was taking too much in. There's a lot of darkness there. You can't have Mercury there and there can't be darkness. And strangely enough, one of my horses picked up an awful energy exactly where the G summit was. And I didn't know the G summit was there. And I went looking in 2020 and 2021 as to what happened with that mare. And fuck me, I find out that exactly where she went wrong. She had a bit of she just got picked up a very bad energy. Was exactly where...
They carry it around with them.
Yeah, it was still there. And she picked it up 20 years later. I don't know what many years, 15 or 20 years later.
Yeah, it's just like what Alex Jones says. That all turned out to be true, that they are the occult elite.
Yeah.
They are involved in funny business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether that keeps them in power, or if it's sometimes I go through phases, I think it's a fetish. You know, it's just a bit of titillation. Like I used, the Hellfire Club in Montpellier Hill in Dublin, like that was always sold to me growing up as sort of like, oh, it was just rich aristocrats, bringing women up in debauchery and having orgies and stuff. But then, like, you start to trace the families involved, and a lot of them were involved in like pretty nasty things in Dublin. So that was like an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, and a lot of them were involved in the slave trade as well, the African slave trade. So, I think on one level it's a fetish, but it's also on another level real. It's kinky, but it's also the dark stuff at the same time.
In 2011, there was huge storms. I think we had about 10 or 11 storms over the course of maybe 3 or 4 months. Many people might remember the big one. It came in February. Oh Lord, the old trees that were in Drummond were magnificent. Many of them 300 years old. A lot of oaks. Beech too, because they brought the beech to stop us. So they put the small oaks that wouldn't grow into trunks, because we weren't allowed to plant oaks here for many years because England took all the oaks off this island. In the taxes, when some of the estates weren't paying their taxes to England, they surrendered the oaks off our land.
Do you want to know how the oak stuff really started with all that?
Yeah.
You're going to like this story.
Go on.
John Dee, who was the astrologer magician to Queen Elizabeth I, he created the British, he called it the Empire, Impire. And he basically, during a ritual or during a trance, said that we'd have to build trees made from oaks from the 4 countries, which is England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And this would build the Royal Navy to take on the Spanish Armada. And so this whole thing of harvesting the oak in Ireland actually began with John Dee and the creation of the British Empire. And it was actually a magical thing. It was actually, occult. And it wasn't hidden. You can read his biography and it's all in there.
Took 1,000 oak trees to build a ship to sail the seas.
Oh, well, these were oak trees.
1,000 oaks.
The trunk would be twice the width of this table.
Yeah, 1,000 oaks, they reckon.
Yeah.
And as they took the oak from this land, they then replanted the beech. The beech would grow tall, they would crack, the water would get in and they'd rot. As England went in and colonised the world, their nearest neighbours would never be on their doorstep. We hadn't the power to build a ship. And the evidence is this is through the breweries, where we've been importing whiskey barrels from the rum that's made in America. Is the barrels come here. Cuba buys them back because America and Cuba weren't dealing. So when we're finished with them, they go back out again.
Because before the British Empire, or it really started out as the English Empire first, Ireland was a huge trader with Spain and France on its own. The O'Neills and all these guys had huge trading empires into the Mediterranean and everything. And they brought vast amounts of produce through like ports like New Ross and Waterford. A lot of it was the old Templar fleet connections. So the damage it did to this country was
Huge.
catastrophic.
Yeah.
Catastrophic, you know.
We've never, the island has never repaired from that, I suppose.
Not from the flight of the Earls, when the Gaelic nobility, and they took the last of the Druids to fill it with them to France and Spain and Italy. No, I really do believe.
We have a government that believes in conifer trees now with no souls in them, poisoning our whole land.
And no nature.
Hacking them out and leaving the whole place like a desert jungle.
You know, the yew tree is a sacred tree because, or the Druids especially, because it's immortal.
Yeah.
And when a yew tree falls over, it starts to generate from the branches out of the ground.
Wow.
So it's like a yew tree is immortal.
Jeez, we have a yew tree in our land, and we've only found it. We've found it since we've came to the land. I must show it to you. And the other day we were in looking at it again. I brought someone else in, and we found a whole collage of stones now beside it, like it's an old burial place of something.
It could be.
Or very old. All the stones have been put in a little pile, and it looks like someone went and cut one of the branches off it. And from what we can see is another branch has gone in and intercepted into it to bring life back into it again.
Yeah, that's what they're like. They're a very strange.
I thought it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
If you can chop them down, say you chopped one down and left it to die on the ground, it will start generating little yew trees out of the branch. That's why it's called immortal.
Oh.
So there's yew trees. I was at a place in Wales near Wrexham, and there were yew trees there that they said were over 2,000 years old and around the churchyard.
Wow.
And that's how I found out they don't die. They just don't die.
They don't die.
You're saying that about storms being very strange. Do you remember with the two big storms we had like a couple of winters ago?
Last year.
And that was
spring,
up where I live, that was very bad.
Yeah.
I haven't been right as a person since those storms. I felt like I was dealing with a lot of stuff at the time, and I was under an awful lot of stress at home. And both storms, I was up all night. Just in case something happened, like the roof blew off, that I could do something, you know. And there was horrific damage in the first one. A couple of, pine trees wrecked the place, you know. But no structural damage to the house happened. But I felt, I can't describe it, and I've been feeling like it ever since. Especially after the second huge storm that happened. I went out at 5 a.m. in the morning. No, 7 a.m. No, we hadn't had power for 11 days or something. And the trees on the road, I'm not joking to you, were bent all the way over to touching the other side of the hedgerow. Now, I'm not talking about the top of the trees. I'm talking about the trunks like that. And there was noises in the sky that sounded like I was like mocking noises, and on top of all the storm noises. And honest to God, when that second storm ended, I felt like, suppose you went into a pub and some guy beat you up, and it affects you, even though you might be okay after the beating up. You're violated. You're violated, when you've been. I felt like that storm.
Psychologically damaged.
Yeah, because it wasn't a storm.
Yeah.
It was the gates of the abyss was opened and thrown at the west coast of Ireland.
Yeah.
That's really how I feel about it. I confronted the most dangerous and malicious spiritual force, and it came as the storm god from the west.
Yeah.
It came as a storm demon or storm god. And to this, even right now, I'm very upset about it. I haven't been right ever since that storm. Wow. What could it be in a storm? And granted, it was probably the worst storm that ever hit Ireland, or one of the worst, that could actually affect you so emotionally nearly 2 years later. It's just weird.
Wow.
So some storms are not storms.
There's something more about that, because I was driving the knacker truck actually for a few days after that storm, and we picked up dead animals in places where they shouldn't be coming out as dead animals. They were in solid, structured, slatted houses where the walls actually had been taken down with the wind, on top of bulls and on top of many cattle. There was cattle dead under trees and horses dead in all sorts of places. I mean, it was it's hard work going into people's farms when they've lost an animal. When they've lost animals out of tragedy like that.
Oh, it's awful.
It's a tough journey as well. And I really feel for the people, but was it orchestrated?
Well, what happened was the night after the second big, huge storm, you always get the calm night. So it passed and went over to Scotland or somewhere, right? So I went out that night, and I was also not well at the time. And I looked up at the sky, and I never, because all the lights were out because the power was, half of the country had lost its power. And I looked up at the sky, and there were billions and billions of stars, but there was these strange lights moving around like this, like those UAP things.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, did they use some kind of technology to make this storm?
Yeah. It made no sense, some of that storm.
No, it didn't.
It jumped fields, it jumped parishes, it landed in, it flattened, and then it disappeared. There was no evidence of wind in other places.
Exactly. Sligo town, it was just, what was the storm? Well, nothing happened really last night.
Yeah.
Where the west of the county and the south of the county, absolute millions of trees down.
I was with a sheep farmer and it had taken the roof off his new sheep shed that he was only after putting on. It took it up onto his house, just damaged the thing, and took it across his lawn and left the second half of it across a road into another field. That's tornado beyond tornado beyond tornado.
But it also had an emotional quality to it.
Oh,
and I spoke to some of my neighbours and I said, how did you feel about the storm? And they all said the same thing. It felt weird and I couldn't sleep after it. So sometimes a storm is more than just the weather. It's something else. I don't know whether it was man-made or if it was some kind of spiritual.
Well, there's a reason why they tell us we're under the weather. And there is a reason why they often say that we're going into a bad spell of weather or a hot spell of weather.
Well, the Spanish Armada were all destroyed up around Sligo and Donegal. And they say that was a storm that had been whipped up by John Dee, the magician.
Yeah.
That's what destroyed them. So that all happened up around there.
Wow.
And so you wonder it was something like some kind of spiritual aftermath or something, you know. But I'm still not right. I still haven't been right by it. And it's a storm shouldn't affect you like that. It shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't. The storm in Drumoland in 2011, I have an old horse, old Paddy. He actually won't stay in his own in any field since.
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah. And when we were in Drumoland, we hadn't as many horses for a couple of years there. And we'd have him out in the paddock. And I had to learn the hard way. He'd come in looking for me. I'd leave him in the paddock and I'd bring in the other Paddy or Popeye or someone, and we'd be gone down doing the carriage drive. And geez, the first day I'd done this, I was gone out in the drive, and he comes in and he stands up in his spot inside where he'd normally be, waiting for me to return back in. He went down to the car park looking for me, and then he came back into where we stand in front of the castle. He just won't stay. And then I started learning, geez, this horse won't stay. He'll go through the electric wire and everything to get out of them paddocks. And he's never stayed on his own. And we don't leave him on his own now.
When they hear like expressions like an ill wind is blowing, that stuff is real.
Yeah, it's real.
You can feel the wind, and you can feel like there's something not right here. You know?
The horse's magnetic field, whether you know or not,
and they have a gigantic nervous system.
It reaches out 5 miles. So
I can believe
if there was a ritual going on under a temple of Mercury, if the moon was at a certain place, if the tide was at a certain place, that's when they use it all and they bring it all in. And
totally.
And they connect all the places. Like that's connected to Adair, it's connected to Ashford. They're all connected through the water, and the water holds the memory.
I have a book at home of biology, and has illustrations of nervous systems of people and animal. And the nervous system of a horse, the central nervous system, it's like if we're an AM radio or FM radio, they're like a satellite dish.
Yes. Wow.
Their nervous system is unbelievable.
Magnified.
And the size of them, it wraps around their body.
Yeah.
So that's what this it comes through the hair. It comes through the hair and everything, the braid and everything, the bridle and the tail and everything.
Wow.
But you told that story about the horses were braided.
Yeah.
I'd heard that before.
Yeah.
In Nova Scotia, in Canada, was always a belief there.
Oak Island.
You came in, yeah. If you came in the next morning, and they're all descendants of Irish people.
Yeah.
If you came in the barn the next morning and the horse's braid was done, it was the fairies, and they totally believed that.
Yeah, the fairies they use them. They say to take the children back to God, to carry them out through those dark passages. And my God, you know, it's something we could touch on maybe for a minute. Sure, hasn't Ireland been a carnage battlefield for hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of years?
Yeah.
How many horses would have been slain in this island in battles and war? You know, we talk about the children, we talk about the tomb babies, we talk about what the church has done, we talk about all the stuff back along. But just to talk about the horses for a minute.
What about the Irish horses that ended up in the Duke of Wellington's army and the mass carnage of like Waterloo and battles like that? They were Irish horses, most of them.
Yeah.
That the Scots great, even many of the French horses were Irish.
Yeah, Napoleon used to buy all his horses here in Ballinasloe. Napoleon is known to have bought every horse that he had for his army out of Ballinasloe, or quite a lot of them. Sure, we know that the Queen, there must be something magical in the spirit of the Irish horse, because why else would the Queen want all her horses in the guard, the Queen's guard, to be of Irish origin?
And
they all come here.
And so much
black horses. 15.
So much of the mythology is riding to the other world on a horse.
Yeah.
Or coming back.
Yeah.
Do you remember before the whole COVID thing started, the 2 white horses went crazy in London?
It is.
And that was very weird,
got covered
wasn't
in
it?
blood, yeah. A couple of weeks later, there was a black horse and a white horse put with a no rider, which was kind of shown in real time that the king has been dethroned. There's a lot of codes to where we are at the moment, you know, and there's a lot going on that's I believe something different with the sky at the moment. You know, I believe that they're refiring our DNA, that we're down to 2 strands of DNA working. I believe that everything that's been put in and what they're now, everyone waking up saying is chemtrails and contrails, they've been at that for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. I believe that they're refiring our DNA with new light. The sun has gone into a white crystal light now.
Oh, yeah, it's not natural.
And I believe that they're able to illuminate the sky at night and give us all these mad colours. The one thing about the Northern Lights that are being shown to us, they're not dancing, they're stationary.
Yeah, they don't wave.
No, they don't. The Northern Lights should be dancing in a
Yeah.
And I have filmed them where they look like they're nearly coming out of a screen box like you'd see at the cinema, and being projected out in a long thing. We know there's Project Bluebeam, we know that there's holograms, there's a lot of stuff. But I believe that this light is all refiring us and we're not able. And I've been recording it for about 5 years, 4.5 years, the new white light of the sun. And I've been recording that every time they give us new heat, they intensify it. Then they dull us down because we're not able for continuous light of it. And then they give us cold weather. We all feel shit. We're drained, we're exhausted, we're way out of sync. And then they hit us again with the next blast of it. And I was in Cork the other day. We're doing a beautiful wedding with 2 of the horses. Jeez, the heat that we had was just mind-blowing. And we got up to Limerick. It was like moving into a different war zone. The temperature changed by about 12 or 15 degrees. And by the time we got out the truck, we didn't need our jumpers, we needed our coats back at home.
It's weird.
Now, fuck, this is only a little island. 200 miles. This isn't America, that you're 3,000 miles and you're going from state to state. We're only going from county to county here.
Yeah.
We have 30 miles long and 40 miles wide. So you couldn't have that kind of a change in something without someone somewhere manipulating it.
The sun is definitely the wrong colour.
It's white light.
Because I have all my photographs from the 80s and everything is kind of golden.
Yeah, golden.
And I was thinking, okay, maybe it's the film saturation.
Yeah.
But what did it for me was I had my old watercolours and I used to paint the light a pale yellow and the shadows purple, which is, they're both ends of the colour spectrum, right? That's correct. And sometime in the 1990s, my watercolour started to change. The white light was white and the shadows were blue.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice it really. I just was in. But sometime in the 90s, the sun changed.
I used that. I wasn't aware of it changing as far back as that, but I always say that for the children when we went to school and everything. If the teacher asked us to draw a picture, you draw a picture of the sun and a house and a cat. Same old stuff was drawn every time. the sun was always yellow.
Yeah.
And now it's not. You'd have to leave the page white. I don't know what you do, just draw a circle, because it's white light. It's beautiful white light. I built up a tolerance to look at it for up to 7 minutes, because it fires our DNA. It's very powerful for us.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't want us looking at it, so they've trained us all to wear the blocking glasses and the sunglasses.
And the sunscreen.
And the sunscreen and everything else, because it's just another part of where that is. Where do you think next? Are you going to be drawn to Holy Island again? Is there more to see in there?
Yeah, I'd love to go back again sometime in the future before UNESCO takes it. But I want to, like down here in Clare, there's a lot of sites in the Burren I haven't fully, been down there a few times.
You've been to Pound
Yeah, but I'm fascinated by Kilmacduagh churchyard. The round town there is like unbelievably huge. And there's a building there that has a very different type of stonework than all the other Christian buildings. And there's a shield and a gigs, and there's a truncated round tower nearby. So Clare is a mystical place for me.
Okay.
And I think like my whole life has been like, I wrote a book called The Druid Code. And it wasn't really about that. It was about trying to see what things from our ancient ancestry managed to carry through to the present. So that's like through the early Christian period, so much was going on. But to me, it's like a detective work. Like I'm building a jigsaw puzzle and I don't have all the pieces. But I'm convinced now that Clare will probably provide more pieces than like places like, the Boyne Valley at this point. So I hope to spend more time down here. I will be. Diving into your ancient heritage. So, and I'm glad I have someone like you that down here and that man, Jared, that I can chat to about this stuff, because it's important.
Yes, this is all new to me. I've always liked history. It's probably the only thing I actually liked going to school was history, a little bit of it. But I got to like it even more through the ancient stories of our people, through the stories of our ancestors and storytelling in houses. And then with the business in Drummond, I learnt that the diaspora coming back, geez, they had an appetite for history that's beyond words. They still couldn't figure out that there was a genocide here.
Yep.
They couldn't figure out that our people were murdered in mass numbers here, in millions upon millions, and starved to their own death. And penal laws so strong against our people that forbid us to read or write, fish.
But even when we had our own country, they continued on all that stuff. Like, I learned about Irish mythology in primary school through the Irish language. They didn't teach it in English, and Irish wasn't my first language. It was difficult for me to read the stories. Like, I'm good now, but as a kid I wasn't. And I think that was deliberately done so you wouldn't hear the stories to be told in English, so you wouldn't really know them. Wow. And it was almost like deliberately done on purpose. Not that there's anything wrong writing them in Irish, but they deliberately did it and put it into schools where kids didn't speak Irish. So I'm not interested in that.
We wouldn't find it.
Or I'm not interested. Today we're talking about Cuchulainn, and then the lesson would be in Irish, and kids would be like tuning out. But there'd be this great story being told. And it'd be in the school book, but in Irish, and a lot of kids had difficulty.
Well, they have to do that. That's lesser magic.
Yeah, and so that was deliberately done because they knew English-speaking kids in Ireland would have trouble with that. So they would put them off it. They wouldn't be interested.
Wow,
they're very devious.
Yeah, lesser magic. They're always
very
do it.
Black. That's black. That's pure black magic.
Lesser magic. They'll always. God always has to tell us, and so does the devil.
Yeah.
One of the things, and we were on about it there a little while ago. The biggest people that believe in God are Satanists, because they've done everything to destroy all his work. So if you ever want to find anyone that believes in God more than...
You're one of the first people that I've ever said this to.
Yeah.
That, and you're right, you have, groups like the Frankish Sabbateans. They said, all people through history, they do as God tells them, and he punishes them. So let's sin and see what happens. And that kind of became the genesis of modern, what they call Satanism, which just really means the opposer, the adversary. And that's because they studied theology properly. Like yin and yang, they didn't only look at yang, they looked at yin as well. You're absolutely. You don't know how right you are about that. I've known people who were involved in the Church of Satan and stuff like that, and they're unbelievably interesting people. They could sit down here and have a great conversation with them. There'll be nothing evil about them, really.
No. Yeah.
But it's almost like that kind of an espionage.
Yeah.
It's like they have insider trading knowledge.
Yeah.
They're not all evil. But there's lots who are kind of like...
Well, sure, Satan was the Prince of Light. He had the ability to bring the fallen angels with him. He's a deceiver.
They wouldn't be all monsters, but the ones with power might be, you know. But a lot of them are people. The ones I've met are people that they're like, a lot of them are kind of like atheists. But they believe that there's an energy of morality. But so many of them are connected to the U.S. military. It isn't funny.
Really?
Particularly the U.S. Navy. Yeah.
Really?
What's that all about? You know.
Really? Yeah. And like to the Navy SEALs and everything, or not?
No, actually, officer class. You're talking about like the ones that go to West Point, the military cadets and stuff.
Really?
Top of the Marines. Well, the Scottish Rite Freemasonry thing that runs the U.S. Navy, and you know what the biggest in NASA? I don't know, maybe not now. The biggest lodge was the Apollo Lodge. You know where the Apollo Lodge is from? Dublin.
Oh yeah.
And they were all Apollo, and you see them all when the moon landing happens. They're all doing this, doing the Masonic shakes. That's the Apollo Lodge. Oh, yeah. You go around Dublin, and you will see the Apollo Lodge stuff on all the old buildings.
Really?
It's the Bucranium. Oh, this country is, like I said, this country is a battlefield.
We have more lodges here per capita than anywhere on Earth. Would you agree with that?
There's still 5 lodges in Sligo.
Yeah.
Sligo's a small town, 20,000 people, and they have 5 lodges.
I don't know, was there something like 14 in Kinbear one time?
Yeah. There used to be something like 20 lodges in Sligo at one time.
Yeah.
They're mostly British military lodges.
Still have 5 now today.
5 in a town of 20,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and they run the town.
Yeah, we know, and I say this in many of my posts every day of the week, that they've infiltrated every single organisation on the planet. They seem to have someone at the top of every committee that sways at some fucking direction.
Even in things like rock music and everything, you know, you start going down the list. There's so many people that the music we grew up with, they're all the Masons.
Wow. This is Thomas Sheridan, folks. Gee, we're so honoured. This is our first podcast, and we won't be doing intros and I'm not into that. I'm into having chats with people, conversations. This has been a moving day, Thomas, in my life.
Me too.
John Waters came here. It was a moving day in my life. This is another one that will go in my record book. We've been on a time travel since we started today. It was magical because you kind of just appeared out of a blank canvas on the land when I was up watering the oak trees, and you just were there. And I turned around.
Came up the meandering path.
Yeah, and I didn't hear you or see you, or got no inclination that you actually had arrived. And we've been on a roller coaster all day, and we've had a lovely day. We've met wonderful people, and
we had fun.
Inner Heart Productions are amazing.
Yeah.
The work they're doing for everyone from James Conway to John Waters to Seán Kilkenny and the Forgotten Horses. It's mind blowing. It's a deep honour for us, honest to God, to have you come to us, because I know you have a huge following of people, and you've taken time out of your busy life to come to cowboys like us that are just have a vision.
No, it wouldn't be worth living if I couldn't do things like this. So thank you very much, Sean, for your kindness, your friendship.
You're brilliant,
and many more strings to your bow, brother.
We're really we have the power as people now. We have the backing of the people of the island now. We have everyone that's coming with us. Whoever's not coming is on the other side, really. There's a few in the middle fence. Whoever's coming have risen. We know this from the fuel protests and demonstrations. The island is in a great place now. We're really secure in our future. And God Almighty, can you imagine what kind of days we're going to have when we don't have to be worrying about all their rules and regulations?
Well, Terence McKenna said, to change the world, go find the others. And we're now finding the others. Yeah, they're coming. We're finding each other, yeah.
The rising, I got this lovely saying of the last couple of months. The rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
The boats are being lifted now out of the mud, and out of deep water, and out of darkness. And that white light seems to be shining everywhere now for us.
And ironically, we were on a boat today.
We were, and we got the number 7. Everywhere we went,
7.
We got 7 churches on Holy Island. We got 7 little islands that run right up to just the outskirts of Mount Shannon, and we were on the 7th day of the 7th month.
Yep.
And all I can tell you is God's favourite number is 7, and God wins. He's winning this journey. God bless you.